Rockstar Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone coming on in. Appreciate you guys. Happy Tuesday, I guess. I mean, we're, starting out the week. I hope everyone's had a good work week so far. Again, welcome to the Rockstar Report. If you're new here, sound in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who people who watch me consistently or watch my content. I'm always interested to know where everybody's from. So sound off the comments. Let me know where everybody's watching from. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight. I think we're done waiting. I think the Carolina Panthers are done waiting, and the NFC South should be paying attention, in my opinion. There's a lot of names floating around with this team. Of course, the NFL Combine is now over with, and we talked about a lot of prospects last night on the show. Who Carolina could target, guys. But we are going to talk about one I didn't even talk about last night, but I think is making a lot of buzz swirling around with his name. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about guys in the NFC South that could be a shopping list, like guys that are coming from teams in the NFC South. For example, Jamil Dean, Caden Ellis, Alontae Taylor, Kate Otten, Arnold Ebekadi. I cannot pronounce his name correctly. Luke Fortner and Logan Hall are guys we're going to be talking about tonight. Talk about Jacob Rodriguez. That is the guy I did not talk about, who is very much under our radar. And the big swing. We're going to be talking about Bradley Chubb versus Trey Hendrickson. Could we see them go after Trey Hendrickson, or could we see them go after Bradley Chubb? We'll talk all of that and more tonight. So appreciate you guys coming through it again. Always make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching on TikTok, just punch me in the face, whatever works for you. Watching on TikTok, make sure you drop a follow as well. Let me get to some comments here real quick. What's up, Sean? Appreciate you. What's the deal? Not much. Marcos Cash, what's good? Panthers gal, what's up? Watching from Raleigh. Are you saying it the way Chris Johnson calls it? Raleigh? Oh, Raleigh. That's what you're doing. Leon Murray, what's up, bro? Appreciate you coming through, my guy. Hope all is well. Yeah, man. Could the Carolina Panthers be looking at some guys, though, man? I mean, I think here's the thing. Based off of what I'm seeing and hearing and how Dan Morgan has been expressing himself, I think they're done pretending. I think the rebuild phase is kind of over. I think the patience talk is gone. I think Dan Morgan has made it crystal clear recently that this franchise believes it can win now, and that's what they want. And I think he's willing to act like it. Now, that doesn't mean that I think he can go out and make all these like reckless spending or fantasy football logic type moves. Like, it means I think he's going to make some calculated, aggressive moves. I think that it means he's going to exploiting some timing, some contracts, some division weaknesses. I mean, it's understanding one simple reality. The roster is improving, but again, this roster is nowhere to be. It's not even complete, right? And so can the NFC South, at 8-9 raise, winning the NFC South at 8-9, definitely raise some eyebrows for sure. But the progress is progress, right? Under Dave Canales, right? We've shifted from dysfunction to a well-disciplined football team. They pushed the Rams in the playoffs. They won 8 games as underdogs. They found their identity. What they didn't find yet is the consistency, right? Or dominance, all right? And that's where this offseason matters, I feel like, right? Bryce Young is entering that final stretch of his rookie year where flexibility still exists. If he takes another step forward in 2025, step forward in 2026, then his next contract will land somewhere in that $40 to $50 million per range, right? So that clock is ticking. So Morgan knows it. The front office knows it. There's definitely a sense of urgency baking up into every decision from here on out. So if we want to be serious about opening that Super Bowl window, I guess you could say, Morgan has publicly said the words, then half measures won't cut it. And he's basically in win now mode. All right. But see, the Panthers aren't one piece away. We all know that. Okay? The Panthers are not one piece away. They are close enough to push, but this team still has its flaws. Right? Again, Bryce Young finished 2025 with an 87.8 passer rating, near the bottom of the league in EPA per play. The defense ranked 25th. The Panthers were swept by a 6-11 Saints team. They closed the season on a 3-game losing streak, including the playoff loss. So context matters, man. Like, if we're being honest, Dominique, thank you for liking the live, brother. I appreciate that. Jaden, what's up? I don't know who's all in the TikTok. I don't go live on TikTok enough, obviously. But context matters, right? Like, Carolina doesn't have a top 15 draft pick to fast track talent, right? They're in the middle of the pack in cap space. What they do have is momentum. We also have that internal belief. We also have a division that's far from a dominant division in the NFL, for being completely honest. Okay, if Morgan wants to accelerate this timeline, right? If he wants to somehow get Carolina Panthers to open up that Super Bowl window, the path is clear. You have to upgrade this defense, plain and simple. You got to restabilize this offensive line. You had it stable, right? And you give Bryce Young no excuses, okay? And that plan brings the Panthers directly into conflict with their NFC South rivals. But here's the thing. There's guys, we didn't franchise tag anybody today. Okay? But you do have some guys in the NFC South that you all know too well that are now become free agents because they didn't get tagged today either. Right? Or they're basically free agents. All right. Well, we got Leon watching from Metro Atlanta. Right now, I'm in Las Flores, Mexico, waiting in line to cross back over. Well, okay then, Marcos. You down there, my friend. You are down there. What's good, Trizzy? Panthers need to trade 2 first-round picks to get to 4. That ain't happening. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think so. What's up, Antonio? Went up to eat at a restaurant I like and trying to sneak a bottle of Patron over. Bought it for $20. That's wild, Marcos. A bottle of Patron for $20. My guy. What's good, Earl? Marco's over there trying to turn up for the turn up. I see. He's over there talking. Jarvis, thank you for liking the live. I appreciate it. I try to keep up with the TikTok, man. TikTok's lives are so much different than doing YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or Instagram. But the problem is, if I had 10,000 followers on TikTok, I could do it from my computer. Be way easier. Okay? Be way easier. If I had 10,000 followers, I could just live stream to every platform I want. Jarvis comes in with a good question. Jarvis, I'll answer your question real quick. Who are we taking at 19? I don't know. The reason why I don't know, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and everybody over here on the YouTube channel knows it. I don't know. That's my answer. The reason why I say I don't know is because I need to see how this free agency works out. And once I see how this free agency works out, then I'll have a better idea where this team is going. Right? Our biggest need, in my opinion, still to this day, I think you could put, here's my argument. You could say edge rushing is the biggest need. We were basically dead last in pressure rates. We were basically dead last in sacks. Okay, I understand the middle of the field. Our linebackers were getting cooked in coverage. So the middle linebacker group, you could make a case for that. You could say 1A, 1B. 1A is edge rusher, 1B is linebacker. But again, then you also got to think about this. You don't know if you don't know if they're going to re-sign Cade Mays because his market value now has skyrocketed. Cade Mays is looking to get $8 million per year. That puts him as a top 7 paid center if that's where he's looking to get paid. So you don't know if you can afford him there. Right? Ike Ekwonu, the left tackle position. You don't know when he's coming back. Are you going to sign Josh Nishman as just as just a short-term ordeal? But there's guys out there in free agency that you could bring in automatically. There's guys in the draft that you could bring in. Maybe you go and get a guy at left tackle. Maybe you don't spend the first round pick to go get him. Right? Maybe you don't spend the first round pick to go get him. Because, again, you got other needs. But there's also left tackles that you could get later on that could be sufficient enough. But so that's the thing. We are multiple positions away. We are multiple positions away. SC Panthers boy comes in with the questions. Who do you want or what position should we be attacking at 19? I think it depends on free agency, but I wouldn't be surprised at pick 19 alone. They are looking at linebacker, edge, and offensive tackle. And I wouldn't be surprised. Here's the thing I think they're going to do. I think they're going to draft this is what I think they're going to do right now. I think they're going to draft CJ Allen at 19. Unless somehow miraculously Sonny Styles drops out of the top 10. But again, the free agency is going to tell us a lot where they're going to go because who knows? What if they go out and sign a Devin Lloyd? Right? What if they go get a Leo Chanel? Right? Could be. They sign that. You don't have to spend a first round pick. Then you narrow it down to edge rusher and offensive tackle. So then maybe you go and get an Akeem Messidor at 19. And then maybe Caleb Lemieux falls to the second round and you pick him up at 51. Right? Then in the third round, you could get Jacob Rodriguez. Jacob Rodriguez, I think could be a late second round pick. I mean, he did himself a lot of favors, and we'll dive more into Jacob Rodriguez because he is on my radar. If I'm being honest with you, I think Sonny Styles is the best linebacker in this draft. And right behind him, I think it's Jacob Rodriguez. I don't think CJ Allen is better than Jacob Rodriguez. Me personally, if you watch the tape, I think you can tell that Jacob Rodriguez is more productive. He's great in coverage just as much as CJ Allen is. I just think Rodriguez's football IQ is way higher. I like CJ Allen though. But I think that if Carolina's smart, I think you still got to look at getting an edge rusher at 19 though. I think the top 3 positions, it's going to be between offensive tackle, linebacker, and edge. And that's no particular order. So, Jarvis, I hope I answered your question. That's about as much as I can give you right now. Great question by SC's Panthers boy. as well. Just again, I just, I saw a report today. I'll share it with you guys real quick over here on X. Let's go ahead and share the live. See, we got to do this right here, guys. We got to like and share the live over on X so we can get some more people over here. As well doing it on this. I mean, it's just like I tweeted today on this. I saw The Athletic comes out with their executives mocked out top 10 NFL team executives tend to have a solid feel in the top draft. You look at that image, Sony Styles ain't there. So, of course, I was like, Sony Styles not in the top 10 is wild. And then, of course, dear 8 pound, 6 ounce baby Jesus, can he please fall out of the top 10? I mean, I don't want to wish on anybody's downfall, of course, right? I mean, I think all the players deserve where they deserve to get picked because they've worked for it. But how bad I want Sony Styles is pretty damn bad. That's why I'm like, can someone find some dirt on this guy so he can fall? And I don't mean that in a bad way, man. Like, I really don't. But all right, let's get into it. So some free agents. All right. We're going to go to Spot Track, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely going to go to the Spot Track. We're going to dive into some free agents that I think that are in the NFC South that we could be targeting, or that were in the NFC South that we could be targeting. All right. Now that they are free agents, and not a lot of our guys, not a lot of people in the NFC South did some tag. Nobody really did some tagging, if we're being honest. Jamel Dean is a guy that I would not be opposed to targeting. If you want to go all in on defense, you add in another corner. Makes too much sense, especially with J.C. Horn, Mike Jack were outstanding in 2025. I do think that depth matters, right? When we're talking about versatility matters, right? Jamel Dean remains one of the most consistent corners in the NFL. Now, Dean allowed just 49.2% targets to be completed at a posted 63.1 passer rating when targeted. So his 80.6 Pro Football Focus grade ranked him third among 114 qualifying corners. Now, he's approaching 30 years old. Now, that I don't think that should scare anybody away. But adding Dean would just strengthen our secondary. And it would weaken Tampa Bay in the process. That's the kind of move contenders make, right? Another guy I want to go through, and y'all guys let me know in the comments what you think of these guys as I name them and we go through them, all right? I want to hear your thoughts. Say if you like them, tell me why you like them, why you don't like them, whatever. All right, Caden Ellis. I like Caden Ellis. I do think Caden Ellis is nice, actually. Our linebackers have been a problem. Our linebackers have been a problem in Carolina for years. Okay. Luke Kuechly was never replaced, and pretending otherwise, he hasn't helped. Morgan openly admitted that the position will be attacked through free agency and the draft. Caden Ellis fits the Panthers' lack of pressure ability, the versatility, and the disruption. Now, Ellis is one of the league's best blitzing linebackers. That matters a lot in a Jiro Evero scheme, if we're being honest, ladies and gentlemen. All right. He's over 30, which doesn't fit usually long-term profile. Guys on the TikTok, can you please do me a favor and like the live? I would greatly appreciate it. Which doesn't fit Dan Morgan's usual long-term profile, but the profile right now is win now. That changes the math. Okay. If Carolina believes it is ready, Ellis could be that kind of short-term impact signing that reshapes the defense immediately. All right. Let's keep moving here. Let's keep moving. All right. Alontae Taylor is another one. Now, Alontae Taylor. Shaw Smith-Wade plays hard. Shaw Smith-Wade is what he is. That's not the same as playing elite. If you want to eliminate explosive plays over the middle, you can upgrade the nickel spot. And I think that is just as mandatory as you getting a coverage linebacker. Alontae Taylor would do exactly that. Taylor brings that exact physicality, that tackling ability, that flexibility. He can cover tight ends. He can cover slot receivers. He can contribute against the run. You pair him up with J.C. Horn, Mike Jack, you would arguably give Carolina the deepest cornerback trio in the league. Now, again, it wouldn't be cheap because his market value is around $11.2 million. But I think it sure as hell would be worth it. I sure as hell think it would be worth it. All right, let's keep this moving here. My next guy, okay, is a tight end. Maybe y'all be interested in, I don't know. Cade Otton. All right, Cade Otton. Another guy I'd be interested in. Market value, $7.9 million. Cade Otton's only 26 years old. This tight end room needs help. We know that. Like, this tight end room does need help. Point blank, period. Tommy Tremble, Mitchell Evans are rotational pieces. Jatavion Sanders has the upside, I think, but shouldn't be handed the pass catching role without competition. I think Cade Otton already knows Dave Canales' system from their time together in Tampa Bay. I think that matters a lot. I think he'd be a clean fit. I think he'd be a reliable target, and he would be an upgrade over what Carolina currently has. Like, if the Panthers want to continue to make Bryce's life easier, this is a practical move. You want to open up the middle of the field in the passing game? Get yourself a good tight end. Cade Otton is a guy I think that could do that. And with him having the familiarity of Dave Canales, this makes it an easy transition. All right. Now, this next guy is Arnold, and I have no idea how to pronounce that last name. Ebekete. Arnold Ebekete, outside linebacker, 27 years old, market value around $9 million. Again, we need pass rush help. Everyone knows it. Dan Morgan knows it. The league knows it. Okay? Ebekete hasn't posted massive sack totals, but the traits are there. He's got length, he's got burst, and athleticism, right? Atlanta plans may have shifted due to James Pierce Jr.'s legal situation. We all know about that. But Ebekete, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, remains a realistic target. Okay? In my opinion. And you already invested in young edge rushers. You have Nick Scorton, you have Princely Manuel. You can get a guy like this who adds experience to that mix, could unlock the whole entire group, right? Let's continue here. And again, guys, sound off the comments as I go through these guys. Just let me know what you think. You like them, you don't like them, you're unknown of them. Do I need to give a deeper dive on each of these guys? You just let me know. Now, Luke Fortner, corner at not corner. Luke Fortner, center, was with New Orleans, is a free agent. Again, the offensive line isn't settled. You're not sure what Cade Mays is doing. He's heading into free agency. Could command more money than we're willing to spend. Fortner was one of the league's best blocking centers in 2025, and the Saints are over $10 million above the cap. So if Carolina wants a cost-efficient and effective replacement, because this guy is less money than Cade Mays right now, this is a logical pivot. Because I think Cade Mays is going to be around $8 million per year. It just seems that that's where it's going, chat. That's just where it seems that it's going with him. All right. So let's continue. Then we got Logan Hall. Anybody but Nick Scott. Exactly, Jarvis. Exactly. Funny part is he wasn't even that bad, though, from a statistical and a PFF standpoint. He wasn't as bad as everybody thought, but that's a total different conversation for another day. Logan Hall, defensive tackle out of Tampa Bay. Now, if the Ashawn Robinson thing or deal decides to happen, right, whether they decide to trade him or can get a trade worked out, or if they decide to cut him, release him, if that happens, you're going to have a replacement. Okay? A replacement is necessary. Logan Hall, he's not the flashiest. He's definitely a very dependable defensive tackle. He plays his role very well. And those type of players like that are more than fans like to admit. Okay? Carolina has Bobby Brown III. Cam Jackson is developing, but Hall would stabilize that interior if the price is right. Those are some guys in the NFC South right now that I think that Carolina could target. So, again, sound off. Let me know what you think about Jamel Dean, Caden Ellis, maybe Alontae Taylor, Cade Otton, Arnold Ebiketie, Luke Fortner, and Logan Hall. Those are all guys that were former NFC South players that I think Carolina could possibly target and bring in. All right. That are now free agents. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're watching on TikTok, just punch my face as many times as possible. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to Jacob Rodriguez. Because let's talk about him. Because he's obviously under our radar. And I didn't even mention him last night for whatever reason. I didn't. All right, whatever reason, I didn't bring him up. But Jacob Rodriguez. Dean would be nice for the right price. Jarvis said Otton or Taylor is the best options in his opinion. All right. All right. Let's talk about Jacob Rodriguez, though, because real quick, he's very much under our radar. Okay? Like, free agency is the only path in certain areas, I think, of this team. I think free agency, though, in the linebacker path is not the only path. A lot of people think that we got to get a Devin Lloyd, or a lot of people think that we got to go get a Nakobe Dean or a Bush or everybody thinks that we have to go through the free agency just to get one of these guys. And it's not true. I think a lot of people discredit the draft, but again, you are taking a bigger risk. And I think that's where people get pushed away from the draft because, again, it's an unknown game. It's an unknown game. It's a gamble. Even though if these guys check all the boxes, that doesn't mean that they're going to check all the boxes, if that makes sense, right? Like when they start coming on the field, right? But Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez has made it impossible to ignore him during the pre-draft process. Overshadowed early, he flipped the narrative completely. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is 6'1" and hold on, let me go to his draft board. Because his draft board's gonna I like his draft. I like to do it this way instead of the way I had it there. And what's crazy is he has not moved on PFF, and PFF has updated their stuff. That's the crazy part. But he's 6'1" and an eighth. All right, 235 pounds. I think he was 233 when he was at the combine, but his combine numbers were elite. All right, 38.5-inch vertical jump, 10'1" broad jump, had a 4.57 40, ran a 1.6 10-yard split, best 3-cone drill. He had a 6.9 in that. Tied best shuttle with a 4.19, and then a relative athletic score. He had a 9.23. Rodriguez has now met with us at both the Senior Bowl and the Combine. So the interest is very mutual. He's a leader. He's a playmaker. He's a culture fit. Exactly what Morgan said he wants. Again, I will not be surprised if Jacob Rodriguez is wearing Panthers blue in April. I would not. I would not be surprised if Jacob Rodriguez is wearing Panthers blue in April. Because, again, Jacob Rodriguez as a prospect does check off all the boxes. Okay? Now there are some scouts out there that have reported that they're unsure of his size. I mean, 6'1" and an eighth. I mean, is it really that big of a deal? I don't think so. He had a great combine, man. The thing is he's a turnover machine, right? A lot of people recognize him for the Peanut Tillman style, right? Punch, leading the nation with 7. He had 7 forced fumbles last year. He's had 13 career forced fumbles at Texas Tech. His background, what's crazy is, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, has a background as a quarterback. So provides exceptional pre-snap recognition, right? The ability to call out opposing formations. That's huge. That's why I said his football IQ is a lot higher than a lot of people realize, right? Has that good sideline to sideline range, displays outstanding lateral movement, great pursuit, making him a highly effective in spaces against perimeter screens. He diagnoses plays well, often beating blockers to their landmarks, and he shoots gaps with absolute conviction. Again, but the scouting reports that are coming out are saying for Rodriguez is that he is considered undersized for a traditional Mike linebacker role and has relatively short arms. He's like sub 31 inches. I mean, that can lead to him getting, that's why I think that PFF hasn't moved him on their draft board. Terrell Moore, I appreciate you liking the live, as well as Jarvis. Appreciate you guys over here on TikTok liking the live. I greatly appreciate it. Tackling consistency. While having a high volume tackler, again, he does have missed tackles, but if he's getting there consistently, you're going to have a missed tackle rate. If you're a high number tackler, okay, you're going to have a high missed tackle rate. I mean, he had 94 tackles and he had 30 assisted. So basically, in total, if you add the 94 tackles and the 30 assisted, that's 124 tackles. He only missed 20 tackles. But that means with 124 tackles, he's getting to the guy with the ball at a consistent basis. Well, AJ's correct. The turnovers is what our defense has missing. Well, this guy has 13 career forced fumbles. And I think he's also got some decent amount of interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. His pass rush, again, that's also something that a lot of people don't dislike. His lack of diverse pass rush toolbox. What I mean by toolbox is like his arsenal of moves, right? He is not a guy that's going to generate a lot of pressure as a Mike as a Will linebacker or a Mike linebacker. Okay, he's projected from a PFF standpoint a 3rd round pick. I think he's going to be a day 2 selection. I at least think he's going to be. I mean, that is a day 2 selection. I think he's going to be at least a 2nd round pick. At least. Because he has such a high floor for a rotational player or a potential starter. I think he's very fit for a 3-4 defense. Or you could put him in as a will linebacker where he can use his speed to flow freely to the ball. I've seen comps where he's been comped to be a Matt Milano due to how his playmaking instincts is and his run chase style. I'm okay with that. Right? Like if you go compare his stats, you go like for example, go compare Jacob Rodriguez's stats to Anthony Hill's, Sony Styles, okay? Kyle Lewis, Aiden Fisher. Jacob Rodriguez had more forced fumbles than any of them combined. Between Anthony Hill, Sony Styles, Kyle Lewis, and Aiden Fisher, he had more forced fumbles than all 4 of those guys. And those are great linebackers. He also almost had more interceptions than all those guys combined. He had 4 interceptions last year. He also had 11 tackles for a loss. But also on top of that, again, let's not forget that he also had how many forced fumbles as well. The guy can create a lot of turnovers for you. A lot of turnovers. My boy watches tape just like someone we all know. 59. Exactly. I think even Jacob Rodriguez says that he models his game after Luke. Facts, Clay. He was a quarterback at UVA to start off his career. Yep. I need Jacob Rodriguez. T. Thompson comes in and says, Jarvis says he likes CJ Allen, Jacob Rodriguez, Jeremiah Trotter, Kyle Lewis, and Harold Perkins from LSU. Those are his guys. Nagobi Teen is how tall? 5'11". Sam Mills was 5'9". Ray Lewis was 6'1", so height isn't what it's made out to be. Exactly. AJ Brooks. He will get drafted before 51. He might jump up to the 1st round, T. Wouldn't mind linebacker Josiah Trotter either. Would not either. I wouldn't mind him either. I like me some Trotter. Josiah Trotter. Not Jeremiah Trotter. Josiah Trotter. My bad. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you guys joining the live stream tonight. Again, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Well, that's some breaking news right there. The Giants are releasing linebacker captain Bobby Okereke. Okereke started 46 games in 3 years for the Giants, recorded 385 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions. Yep, Caleb Earlham's or is good. All right, let's see here. User, I actually answered that question earlier. I'll just answer to you real quick. I have no idea. I won't know until I see what we do in free agency. And I think that's fair for anybody to say because we really don't know. We really don't know. There's so many factors that this team is involved in and things that it's not like we're one player away. So you got to think about Cade Mays. Where is he are we going to be able to re-sign him? Right? Who are your top 3 you're eyeing in free agency? I would say Devin Lloyd, Rasheed Walker, edge rusher, Odefi Awe. I know a lot of people want Trey Hendrickson. I know a lot of people want Bradley Chubb. I see a lot of upside in Odefi Awe. Those are my top 3. And all 3 of them fill a void. You know what I mean? So those are my top 3, user. Lambs 316. Lambs 316, like the live. I appreciate you doing that, man. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about Bradley Chubb, and of course, that's what I wanted to bring up tonight. Bradley Chubb and Trey Hendrickson. We'll get to Trey Hendrickson next. I want to talk about Bradley Chubb. This is an interesting article by Cat Crave. If anybody has not read it, go read it. It's a very interesting article about Bradley Chubb. This is about the big swing here that I wanted to talk about tonight because you got Bradley Chubb to me versus a Trey Hendrickson. Okay. Now, Dan Morgan, if we're being honest, he stirred the pot mentioning Bradley Chubb after his release from Miami. So obviously, when you mention someone in an interview like that, the interest is real. Okay. A lot of insiders suggest he's not a top option. Okay. Chubb is 30. He's 2 years removed from his ACL surgery. Okay. Likely a fallback if bigger plans fall through. That doesn't mean he wouldn't help. Okay. He would. But I'm wondering, is Carolina aiming higher? Because then that does bring in Trey Hendrickson. That's when that talk starts coming back up. Now that talk comes back up, it does make you think. With the whole Trey Hendrickson talk now. If a lot of insiders don't think that Chubb is who they really are, is their top option, then that does bring Trey Hendrickson back up. Right? So here's the thing. Hendrickson didn't receive the franchise tag today. This long saga that he's had with Cincinnati is absolutely over with. It's done. That relationship is ruined, and there's no going back. He's hitting the market after leading the league in sacks in both 2023 and in 2024. This type of move would change everything. If we're being completely honest, it changes everything. It changes everything. It also comes with a problem, though. When you're sitting at the cap space availability that we have, which I think is, someone fact check me, I'm not mistaken, it's at like 9.2. Let me see. Spot Track is saying our current cap space right now is 7.6. Let me see what over the cap is saying. Over the cap is saying 9.2. Okay. Give or take. All right. You're talking about a guy who is going to command $25 million per year or more. That deal would require some very creativity from Brant Tillis. Hopefully he can minimize the risk because it does come with a lot. And then you're going to have to commit to that relationship with Trey Hendrickson to get him here. If Dan Morgan truly that there's this window that is open, this is what conviction looks like if you made a move to go and get Trey Hendrickson. That's just my opinion. But you're going to have to pay him a shit ton of money. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. But the bottom line here is that tonight, guys, is that we're better. We're not elite. Not yet. Like, we have that sense of direction. We have that belief. We have that urgency. What we don't have is margin for error. I'm telling you right now, this offseason might be more important than the last two off seasons with Dan Morgan. I think this offseason, between the free agency and draft, is how you start talking about the Super Bowl talk and the Super Bowl window, and this difference between rebuilding and saying that this team could be a Super Bowl contender. This offseason is so important because Dan Morgan's told Dave Canales it's win now. Well, Dan Morgan also has to set this team up to win now. So Super Bowl talk is aspirational, but it's also actionable. Like, if you want to land impact defenders, if you want to stabilize your offensive line, number one, Bryce Young has to take a real leap. Then your window opens wider than anyone expected. But if not, then we remain a tough out with limits. The NFC South should be watching closely because, again, we're not trying to continue to rebuild anymore based off of how Dan Morgan is talking. We are talking about becoming a contender. And you got to choose a side. So either way, it's going to be an interesting free agency and offseason, to say the least. Sean comes in and says, "Is this true? Is it true we put an offer in for AJ Brown, or is that just fake news I've seen?" I'm going to go ahead and tell you now that's fake news, because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, the Eagles are looking for like a first round pick and a day 3 pick to get him. So Dan Morgan has shut down anything about any trade talks that has to be involved with picks. So that doesn't make sense. So I don't know who is putting these craziness rumors out there, but I don't think they're true. There's another question. Trizzy, another thing to think about. Is Hendrickson a good fit for the scheme. After all, he's coming from a 4-3 scheme. The questionable schematic fit for our 3-4 defense. Again, he is coming off a 4-3, but Hendrickson is a hand in the dirt type of receiver, 4-3 in. Okay. You would have to transition him to a 3-4, which would require as a stand-up outside linebacker. So a role that demands more, spatial awareness, that occasional pass coverage, which is not primarily his strengths. Now, the scheme difference, analysts will argue that his elite production with the 745 sacks since 2020 would upgrade any defensive line regardless of the alignment. And the way I think Evero's multiple 3-4 system, he could potentially be used as a specialist rusher, which means, he would still have his hand in the dirt at times, right? I've seen analysts out there, though, that suggest that a younger fit in free agency like Jalen Phillips would be a cleaner schematic fit for us because of his extensive experience in the 3-4 systems, which I would not be opposed to. But to answer your question, I think that he could do it. It was just Evero would have to set him up in his scheme and in his play calling to make sense and to be a good fit. You know what I mean? That's what I was breaking down there. So the defensive end for the Vikings, do we have trade assent? I talked about trading I thought Jonathan Grenard could be a guy that we look at. I thought Jonathan Grenard, that's a great question, Jarvis. I actually put a whole video on with Jonathan Grenard. Guys, if you haven't seen this, Jonathan Grenard is another guy out there on the free agent market that came out and said that the Vikings are open to trade him. And I put a whole video talking about could Carolina be a possible team to go after him. If you want to go check out the video, it is on my YouTube channel. I actually posted it up on my Twitter, but yeah, I actually talked about this back on February 5th, why Jonathan Grenard actually makes sense for the Carolina Panthers. Because again, the why it makes sense is just like I said here. The Vikings front office is melting down. They haven't even hired a new GM. Sounds like they're not going to be hiring one, according to reports, until after the draft. And they're also $41 million of the cap. And now Jonathan Grenard has become available. I just kind of find it. I just find it kind of funny. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, well, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream tonight. If you're watching on TikTok, make sure you drop a follow. Make sure you drop a like. If you want to come over to the YouTube channel, the link is in my bio. I appreciate everyone joining over here on TikTok. Everybody on the YouTube, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that post notification bell if you don't miss any new content. Of course, if you're watching on Twitch, drop a follow. Do the same thing if you're watching on X. Drop a follow. Other than that, guys, I got more content coming out to you tonight. So make sure you tune in. I got your daily Carolina Panthers news roundup, and I also got your NFL news roundup as well. So I will be doing that right after this show. So appreciate you guys. And again, as always, y'all know what to do. All right, keep pounding. I'm out. Peace.